You have done it in a job interview, on a first date, in the middle of an argument you were winning. Your face went red at the exact moment you needed it not to. And the strangest part is not that it happened. The strangest part is that no matter how hard you tried to stop it, you could not. Your body made a decision without you. Every other animal on this planet gets to keep its feelings hidden. A dog does not go red when it steals food and gets caught. A chimpanzee does not flush when it loses a fight. They feel things. They react, but their biology keeps it internal. Yours broadcasts it, and evolution does not keep accidents around for hundreds of thousands of years. So there has to be a reason. The reason is not what anyone expected. For a long time, the scientific explanation for blushing was simple. A stress response, adrenaline fires, blood moves. Some of it ends up in your face, collateral damage from the fight or flight system. Embarrassing, inconvenient, but ultimately meaningless. That explanation held for decades. Then researchers started paying closer attention to the trigger. Adrenaline fires when you nearly get hit by a car, when you hear a loud bang in the dark, when someone jumps out and scares you. But you do not blush then. You blush when someone reads your diary out loud, when your boss brings up a mistake in front of the whole team, when someone asks if you like them and everyone nearby goes quiet to listen. The trigger is not danger, the trigger is not pain, the trigger is not even stress in the general sense. The trigger is other people watching you. That broke the stress response theory completely, because your body has a dedicated response, not to threats, not to injury, but specifically to the moment your private self becomes visible to a group. That is not a side effect, that is a feature, which means it was built for something. Go back 50,000 years. You live in a group of maybe 30 people, same faces every single day, no strangers, no fresh starts, no moving to a new city where nobody knows what you did. Everything you need, food, warmth, protection, someone to watch your back when you are sick, comes from those 30 people. Which means those 30 people need to trust you. And trust is the hardest thing to verify. Because people are extraordinary liars, not just big, obvious lies, small, constant ones, the smile when you are furious, the agreement when you disagree, the apology that means nothing. Humans learn to manage appearances before we learn to write. So how does a group of people, living closely with their survival depending on cooperation, actually figure out who is honest? They look for signals that are hard to fake. You cannot consciously make yourself blush. Try it right now. Think about being embarrassed. Will your face turn red? Probably not. But think about a specific memory. Something that genuinely embarrassed you, something with witnesses. And some of you will feel it starting. Not because you decided to, because the body remembered before you did. That involuntary quality is exactly the point. When you blush after doing something wrong, you are not performing remorse. You cannot perform a blush. What the group is seeing is your nervous system confirming that you understand what happened, that you feel the weight of it. Researchers eventually decided to test the idea directly. They created awkward social situations in controlled settings, staged mistakes, public embarrassments. Then they watched what observers did with the information. The results surprised them. People who blushed after a social mistake were rated as more trustworthy than people who showed no reaction, more likable, more likely to be forgiven, not despite the blush. Because of it. The thing that felt like a humiliation was, from the outside, functioning as evidence of integrity. But that finding created a new problem. If blushing is so useful for trust, why are humans the only species that evolved it? Other animals live in groups, other animals depend on cooperation, other animals need to read each other accurately. So why only us? That is where Darwin enters the story. And what fascinated him wasn't the redness. It was what the redness revealed. He spent more time thinking about blushing than about almost any other human expression. More than smiling, more than crying, and his conclusion pointed at something that had nothing to do with embarrassment directly. blushing requires a very specific cognitive ability, one that humans have in an unusual form: seeing yourself through someone else's eyes. But here's where it gets complicated. If blushing is a trust signal, a way of showing the group that you feel bad about something, then it should fire most strongly when you do something genuinely wrong. And it does. But it also fires when you receive a compliment, when someone sings happy birthday to you, when you win an award in front of people, when someone says something kind about you unexpectedly. You did nothing wrong. There is nothing to confess, but the blush comes anyway. Which breaks the trust theory, or at least it breaks the simple version of it. The more accurate explanation is not just about guilt, it is about exposure. Blushing fires whenever the gap between your private self and your public self suddenly collapses, whenever the version of you that exists inside your own head becomes visible to a group without warning. That can happen when you make a mistake. But it can also happen when you are seen more clearly than you expected, when someone understands you better than you prepared for. When kindness arrives before your defenses are ready. The common thread is not wrongdoing. The common thread is being seen. Really seen. And your body marks that moment whether you want it to or not. That points to something deeper than trust signals and evolutionary history. It points to what blushing actually requires in order to happen at all. Not just knowing others are watching. Knowing what they are thinking. Imagining their perspective of you from inside your own head. Running a simulation of how you appear to them in real time, while the situation is still unfolding. Most animals do not seem to do this. We do it constantly and we do it automatically. It is why you rehearse conversations before they happen, why you replay them afterward, why a single awkward moment from years ago can arrive uninvited at 2 a.m. We do not just live in the world. We live inside a version of the world that includes other people's versions of us. And blushing is what happens when those versions collide without warning. The next time your face turns red, remember this. You're experiencing something no wolf, no dolphin, no chimpanzee has ever experienced. The awareness of being seen through someone else's eyes. In real time, before you can stop it. That small moment of heat on your face is your nervous system processing one of the most complex things a brain can do. Holding your own perspective and someone else's simultaneously. Feeling the distance between them close. It feels like weakness. It has always felt like weakness. But it may be one of the prices humans paid for becoming the most social species on Earth. For building cooperation at a scale no other animal reached. For learning to live closely enough and honestly enough that trust became possible between strangers. Your body going red is not a flaw that evolution forgot to remove. It is something much older than embarrassment. And you are the only animal that carries that signal on its face. A visible reminder that being human was never just about intelligence. It was about learning to live inside each other's minds. Subscribe to The Human Odd if you want more of this. There are a lot of things about being human that look simple from the outside. They are not.